good friend Chessa Bouche joining us here on on Southeastern Sports Plus. It might be written all over your face right there.
Are you okay?
Yes. First off, are you okay? And how are your fellow Baton Rougians?
They're not great. They are not great. I don't think there's enough booze in this state to make them feel better. I was there in Nashville. I had to get up at like 6 in the morning and witness that catastrophe. And the thing that sucks is like they only lost by 7 points. Like
yeah.
For what we did and what they lost their starting left tackle. And so you lose Tyree Adams, and then you're like, okay, maybe they can piece it together, and then your defense they're struggling to contain Diego Pavia, and he ran all over them, and he was the leading rusher in that ball game. And then your defense goes and they force 2 punts, and you're like, okay, maybe this is something. And then off of those 2 drives, you know how much yardage that the offense gained?
How much?
Negative 10 yards.
Wow.
Oh, no.
Wow.
Negative 10 yards. It was a 3 and out, negative 10 yards. Like, that's all that you can do. And you have, again, a second-year starter, Garrett Nussmeier, who everybody talked about he was going to be in the Heisman race. And then you have so many weapons, and you can't do anything with it. And I don't blame Garrett. I blame the offensive line. I blame the play calling. And I blame Brian Kelly, because it's week 7 and you don't have your team ready to play.
Yeah.
And at this point, you can't say, well, it was bad coaching, or we didn't prepare properly, or we weren't focused. Like, at some point you have to say, like, bruh, maybe I'm just not doing a great job and it's on me. We've never heard that from Brian Kelly. And I was a fan of Brian Kelly when he got here. I was like, he's never had a losing season in over 30-something years.
Right.
Maybe he had the talent at Notre Dame because, you know, you have the academic side. So he's going to come here and he's going to win championships. And then year 1, he kind of outkicks his coverage and has a great year. And then since then, we've just been waiting. We have been waiting and waiting some more. And the thing that I can say about Brian Kelly, when they go on the road and it's a top 15 matchup or a top 20 matchup, you're not going to win it. And that's what we've seen. And so this fan base is like, 50 million, that doesn't matter. Let's get him out of this. Like, who do you bring in? Where does that money come from? And then I told y'all this, I think it was like week 2 or maybe even for the Clemson game, week 1. Brian Kelly said, we paid $18 million for this roster.
Yep.
And you can't beat Ole Miss on the road, and you can't beat Vanderbilt.
Bruh is right. Chessa, I think we need to have a serious conversation about Brian Kelly here. Yeah. Is he James Franklin 2.0?
I hate to say this out loud, but I would agree. I would agree. Wow. I think he is. And again, I was like I was high on that horse with him. I was like, his pedigree, what he's been able to do. He hasn't been able to win the big games. That's because he didn't have the roster. But you have this roster, and you can't even score in the red zone. You have to settle for field goals against a Vanderbilt defense. And now you're going to face an A&M team who's number 5 in the country in sacks. They have 25 sacks on the season, and you have an offensive line that is boo-boo. That's the nicest way I know how to even describe them. And you think something's going to change in Tiger Stadium because of the fans and the environment? Like, no.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I will say this, that maybe I'll be glass half full guy as of right now. There's 2 losses in conference, and there's one to Vanderbilt, obviously a top 10 team, another one to Ole Miss, top 15 team. Still left on the schedule for LSU with 2 losses is number 3 Texas A&M, number 4 Alabama, Arkansas, and Oklahoma to end the season. Now, if it's a tall order, I know it's a tall order, but if you were to stay as positive as BK is here in this picture, and LSU wins out, that is still a team, in my opinion, that at least has the right to put their name in the hat for a college football playoff berth. Are there any talks of that, maybe the hope and positivity of what is possible to come? Or is it just, hey, we're lucky to be here where we are right now, and if things keep going the same way, we will not have just 2 losses. We'll have, way more.
Yeah, in post-game, after the game, we asked about kind of what does the future look like? Are y'all still talking about college football playoffs? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. Of course we are. Of course, that's what they're going to say. They know they have their backs against the wall. What makes it even better is last year, Brian Kelly went out after a post-game interview and said, we're keeping receipts and we'll see y'all at the national championship next year.
Wow.
My guy.
Still doubling down.
On what's left on that schedule, you're going to at Alabama and at Oklahoma. What we've seen from Brian Kelly, he doesn't win the big games on the road. So I don't think this is going to happen. I think maybe if God feels to be nice for Tiger fans, like y'all have been through enough, so I'm going to let y'all win this one against A&M. They're not winning at Tuscaloosa. They haven't done that since 2019, the national championship with that Ogeron. I don't think they go and win in Norman. I've never been in Norman, but again, it'll be a top, well, LSU won't be ranked at that time, but still, you're facing a top 15, top 17 team in the country.
Good defense.
You're not winning either. Yeah, with that phenomenal defense. And then Mateer, he's going to be healthy by then, and so it's like,
and they might be playing for a college football playoff berth as well.
That's right. At that point of the season, they definitely might. You pointed to something very interesting with the offense, not being able to punch it inside the red zone. We got a chance to hear from BK about that.
We've seen that happen so many times in this game. Unfortunately, it was a timely error in that situation, that caused us. Cost us, 4 points in that situation, right? I think in each one of them was a little bit different. I think if we had to impact, another third down situation where it was all-out blitz, that, we could have certainly tapped down the routes and gotten the ball out a little bit quicker. But there's no major issues as much as at that time, at that crucial time with 49 plays, they're magnified if there's any errors at all. At all. And that's what this game came down to. And I mentioned it many times. It's like playing a triple option team. You don't get many possessions. We had 5 possessions going into the fourth quarter. And so when you have limited possessions, those errors are magnified by 10.
So I was going to ask, your head shake kind of says it. I was going to ask if you agree with Coach where it seems like the tonality of his voice and just the way that he's diagnosing it, it makes it seem like, hey, if we're presented this same situation in a future game, a la Texas A&M, Alabama, Oklahoma, we will or can be able to execute? Or do you think that this is more a shadow of a much larger issue for this football team?
Well, since you're 7 games in, and the past 2 games, your 2 losses, you were not able to punch it in. You had to settle for field goal. So I would blatantly disagree with that because you haven't been able to. Yep. If you were able to, I mean, at the goal line stand against Vandy, you had a direct snap and it gets called back. Then you have to call timeout because you have 10 players on the field. Mm-hmm. You don't even have it lined up correctly. And then Garrett Nussmeier is mad because they can't get it together. And then he's crying on the sideline, and you're telling me that the red zone offense is working, or it's going to be able to work now. No. And I will tell you this. Everybody likes to throw around the whole, he's not a great fit, Brian Kelly's not a great fit. I think the real thing to look for is anybody who has ever moved to Baton Rouge to gain weight. Brian Kelly lost weight. Mm-hmm. And you don't do that with the red beans and rice. You don't do that with a gumbo. You don't, you eat your way through this city, and he has not done that. So I don't think he's accepted what it is in South Louisiana, and maybe he's not the right fit because he lost weight when you got here. That makes no sense to me.
No, it should. You should not ever lose weight when you go to LSU. I mean, and literally, your first 3 months there, it should be at least a net gain of about 8 to 9 pounds. That's about 3 pounds per month on average. And that's just a regular staple diet, much less anything bigger than that. Going into this,
he's not eating the po' boys. He's not eating any of that.
No, none. And honestly, that's probably a sign of a bigger issue that he, like you said, he might not be the right fit, literally and figuratively. For this defense going into this season, it was considered, heralded as probably one of the best defenses in the country. They kind of played like it for the most part of the season. I know there's been some injuries. Whitweeks was banged up. His younger brother had a big play there on Diego Pavia. What do you make of the way this defense is playing going into this game against Texas A&M? Because I'm not saying that Pavia and Marcel Reed are the same guy, but they're both elusive kind of players that are playing at a high clip right now.
Yeah, I was impressed with the defense, especially what they did against South Carolina and their mobile quarterback in Sellers. So to me, I was like, okay, you contained a guy who's super mobile. He's not super accurate with his arm. I think with Diego Pavia and all RPOs and all of the eye candy that the defense got away from what they've been able to do. But like you said, when you have Whit Weeks out because of a bone bruise, you don't have Bernard Gooden. He's out with a shoulder injury. You have some of your top guys out, and then you're asking younger guys to fill in the spots. So I think you're asking a defense that doesn't have that veteran experience, those leaders. I mean, Whit Weeks is that captain of that defense and is telling everybody where to go. So when you don't have him, it's a huge hole to fill, and I think that's what we saw, especially with Diego Pavia. Whit Weeks is more than likely not going to be back for this A&M game. Marcel Reed absolutely embarrassed LSU last year. They had basically that game was LSU's, and then all of a sudden they make a quarterback change, and they're like, oh, what do you mean a mobile quarterback? What do we do? And so to me, it's a recipe for a disaster, especially with what he was able to do last year, and missing your main captain, missing Gooden, missing those pieces on defense. To me, I just don't feel like this is the same defense that they had in weeks past because of the injuries. I know that there's injuries all over the field for every team, but on a defense, when you lose your it guy, kind of the heartbeat of that team, it's hard to replace. So to me, I just think this is A&M's game to win. They've never won in Tiger Stadium since they joined the SEC, and I really do not want them to win Saturday night because I have a lot of A&M friends, and it's so annoying when they're doing well because they want to tell you all about it. I'm like, welcome. I'm glad y'all are finally here to the club.
I love it. Chessa, I'm not an odds maker, but I love reading the Vegas lines. And typically for a home field advantage, I guess in the NFL, it's usually around 2.5 to 3. Night game at Death Valley, I would think, is about similar. 6:30 kickoff in Death Valley. This line sits at Texas A&M minus 2.5, which means the odds makers are at least telling you that on a neutral field, these teams are about equal. Are you seeing that go into it? Are you seeing maybe playing something into what the Vegas line is here, or is this just pure market manipulation?
I think because of the way that A&M has been able to win in different ways, they've been able to go blow for blow. They've been able to win it defensively. They've been able to do the shootout because they can win in multiple ways. I think that they definitely have the upper hand than LSU. LSU doesn't want to get in a shootout because they don't have an offense to back them up.
Yeah.
And what we saw with Lane Kiffin, the defense was struggling, sucking wind because they were on the field for as long, and they get tired and exhausted. So to me, I just feel like A&M has that upper hand. I think Vegas kind of knows what they're doing and wants to keep it interesting. But I would be surprised if A&M doesn't win by 2 scores at least.
Wow. That is strong. That is strong. But honestly, given the trend, I can't really disagree with that as of right now. No, I know. Chessa, you are. I know, and I know it hurts you. I know it hurts you more than anybody.
It's gotta hurt
to say that.
At least you won a baseball championship in
That's true.
in June. There is that.
Yep.
There is that baseball natty championship. We have women's basketball the year before that, I think. So I mean, there's been a lot of success there. It looks like BK may or may not be a part of it moving forward. We will see. Chessa, thank you so much for your time here on Southeast Sports Plus today.
Thanks for having me, y'all.